Yeah, this is basically a corporate version of City Museum.
Oh, yes, in St. Louis?
St. Louis.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If any listener has not been there, it's worth going to St. Louis just for the City Museum. I had a field day.
I would say that's
place.
the only reason to go to St. Louis.
Seriously. It's incredible. So I don't even know. It's not really a museum. I wouldn't describe it as a museum, although that is the name and there are museum-y things going on. But how would you describe it?
It's a playground for adults.
It's a playground for adults. But good for kids too. A lot of stuff is made out of cement and has very interesting artwork, like tile laid into it.
But it's also interactive. I mean, if you see a hole in the wall,
you can climb in it.
Go through it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that place seems kind of sketchy in some ways because I found this really tiny hole in the wall and I was like, I can fit through this. I'm going to go in. And I did. And I was like, man, if I weighed like 20 pounds more, I think I would have got stuck in here because it was so tight. And I got through this tiny little hole. There's a bunch of little kids in there because that's everyone who like thought they were small enough to fit in there. It was me and a bunch of kids. And then there's this really steep slide. And I'm like, if I was a little kid and I was scared of this slide, I would want to go back, but you can't because there's 10 people wedged in this tiny hole. So there's all kinds of sketchy things going on in there. I mean, it's really fun. And it doesn't feel like it belongs in like America in 2016 where people like sue over everything. It's like,
oh yeah,
I feel like people would sue that place all the time.
Nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. But it is so fun to be in there. It's like the best fun house ever because there's like a cave system built into it where it feels like you're actually in an underground cave. There's like 6-story like spiraling slides. There's all kinds of crazy stuff in there. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that ethos, I mean, this would kind of be a more Disney-fied version of that because it's less random and it's more, I mean, it's all, to a certain extent, Scooby Doo-ified.
Yeah, true. But I like having
it'll
that.
Have that sense of wonder and
like
exploration.
Player agency or guest agency. They get to pick what they want to do, and so maybe there's a little bit of being guided one way or versus another, but everyone gets to make their own choices.
Yeah, I think that idea of agency would be exemplified if you want to, that idea of City Museum, there's a hole in the wall, you can crawl through it if you want to, but you don't have to, there's nothing forcing you to do that to get to the next thing. It's just if you want to explore that, that's possible.
Yeah.
I think somewhere that employs that, you can, if you want to move that candelabra, it's going to be a cool room. You can look around the room, but that also isn't necessary to the experience. It's just something fun if you want to do that. And then there's the more traditional roller coaster, and then there's the escape room, and there's, any level. So, I mean, there's a continuum of guest experience.
Cool. That sounds amazing. I really like that. And once you've been through, let's say you go through the castle, and you've kind of realized, hey, there's always this little symbol when you're getting close to the roller coaster, or there's always this little symbol that means there's an escape room coming up. So then when you go...
Is that the bracelet? Does the bracelet do something?
Ooh, it could. It could maybe change the icon on the, it's got like a crappy little LCD screen or something, and it just flashes like, skull and crossbones. That means escape room, or it has, whatever kind of symbol for a roller coaster. That can be pretty cool.
That allows you to make the aesthetic of the park much more immersive.
That's a good point.
But you have the traditional, so therefore you don't have a sign thing that says bathroom.
Right. True. That's a great idea. And then if you don't want to ruin the experience or spoilers, you just turn your bracelet around. You can't see the screen anymore. You're fully immersed.
Yeah. It gives you the options.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, this place sounds amazing. This is a really cool... it was a really good franchise. I mean, I love Scooby Doo. I love classic animation in general, but particularly Scooby Doo, and I think it applies to theme parks really, really well.
It offers so many options.
Yes, very true.
I mean, it's insane.
And the franchise, the main story is regular people interacting with mysteries like that. It's just so perfect of a formula to throw real people into and let them explore, let them do what the Mystery Incorporated group does.
Well, that's why Carl Sagan loved Scooby Doo. I mean, he said that he wanted an adult version of Scooby Doo because it promoted just actual investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, the actual spirit of the scientific scientific
there it is.
method.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and it might help kids like face their fears as well. If like a ghost flies by, if in any amusement park, wow, that was hard to say. In any amusement park, some scary thing happens. That kid is like, oh, and maybe the dad or mom is like, oh, I could see the wires, like that's definitely fake. Like they can kind of dispel, like that's not a real ghost. This is how I know. But maybe that's part of the experience, is teaching the kid like, this is how you know that wasn't real. And then let's figure out who that actually was, or let's figure out why they're trying to scare us with these fake ghosts. So it's kind of, it is that kind of scientific method, or proving that paranormal stuff is just normal stuff decorated up all fancy. So maybe it's dispelling working on overcoming fears and overcoming, which, I mean, that's a good lesson for Scooby and Shaggy as well, Being scared rarely helps you out. Maybe that's your defining characteristic, but it doesn't necessarily make your life easier or more enjoyable or anything.
Yeah. I feel like there's a little kid ride at some point where there's like a swiper no swiping moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like Scooby and Shaggy being like, we're terrified, and you got to be like,
don't be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You overcome the fear of them.
Right. It's all about agency still. Like this has evolved way beyond just a theme park. Like I feel like this is like an
educational experience.
An educational institution, and it could be expanded to so many different things as well. And wow, this is really cool. This is captivating.
Sagan Land.
Yeah, Sagan Land. Like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Because I mean, any kind of like children's museum could incorporate this kind of stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be Scooby Doo licensed either. It's just there's spooky stuff going on. Is it really monsters, or can you prove that it's not? Is there anything else you want to talk about specific lands, specific things you want to ensure get put in there?
What would the roller coaster be in College Land?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess it depends on who the bad guy is, who the monster is there. Because if you want it to be kind of Lovecraftian, what's the doctor? There's a professor's name in Mysteries Incorporated who's like the Lovecraft analogy. What's his name? It's like Hatecraft. Yeah. So maybe the story. Oh God, the story uses him as a plot device, and there's some kind of portal that opens up, and so you go into the portal, and then it's just maybe like a dark room roller coaster where it's just totally black in there, and it makes you feel like you're going through this portal, and I don't know, and then you come out and it's like,
and you get like weird invocations and like monster screams. You go like into a monster's mouth.
That'd be awesome. So it could be even like some roller coasters these days incorporate VR. So you put the VR goggles on, get on the roller coaster, and then they can just totally make everything insane going on around you. And it kind of feels like you're going into this monster's mouth or whatever, because that's what you see. And you can turn your head, and whichever way you look, that's what you're seeing. Like you're being your own cameraman again from earlier. Like that could be pretty cool. I'm not sure where else a roller coaster would fit into a real university. They're typically not designed with trapdoors and slides and all that stuff built in.
I like the idea of the HB Hatecraft. That sort of dark world where like stuff flashes every now and then, and you get the fun of like moving around and flipping upside down.
I think that's the way to incorporate it story-wise, especially the Scooby Doo university, because museums rarely have things like that either. Or maybe it is like you go to a museum and there's a bunch of ancient Egyptian artifacts, and you can go into like the sarcophagus. Maybe the sarcophagus has a false back, and you can open it and go into this portal into some Egyptian like pyramid. Just have like an Egyptian themed roller coaster in there.
That's a good.
I don't know. Yeah, just anywhere you can incorporate some kind of magic or something. Although that
and there's no reason both couldn't exist.
True, that might go against our guiding principle of teaching people that magic's not real.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are those ones where the supernatural exists. So I mean, it doesn't have to be.
It's not always.
It doesn't have to be a built-in foundation,
right?
But it can be,
it can be a lesson learned there.
Because the other side of that is that wonderment is real, and debunking things is not the end-all be-all.
Right.
Sometimes you need a sense of like childlike wonder.
True.
You need to believe in stuff.
You want to suspend your disbelief once in a while. Like Disneyland is not nearly as fun if you're like, oh, this is just a dumb roller coaster. Like, let your imagination go a little bit,
Any of those, dinkwads who walks up to the characters and is like, treats him like a person
Yeah, I bet
instead
it's hot
of
in there.
goofy.
Yeah, that's true. Right, there's a balance there, I think, of still being able to critically think about clues, solving these mysteries, but also letting yourself be immersed in this world. Like, yes, that's your mystery machine waiting outside. Like, you're going to make a trap to trap this guy later on.
And the lines, I mean, obviously you're going to have to destroy the reality with lines if you have, any kind of popularity whatsoever.
Right.
But, similar to a Disney, the basement and Tower of Terror, or the mansion in the Haunted Mansion.
You could definitely do a kind of like haunted house type of the line instead of just a turnstile. It's like, well, we're actually walking through this haunted. Yeah, there could be stuff to look at all over the place. Or if you're in the museum, like maybe put an actual couple museum exhibits in there, and the line just slowly.
Yeah, like a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, the line just slowly pushes through that. Which going to a museum is basically just waiting in a long line to get through all of the exhibits and then leave. So at the end, there's a roller coaster. Like, hey, it's an added bonus. You still got to walk through the whole museum at a leisurely pace, because you kind of had to because you're in line, but you still got to experience all the exhibits and, talk to your family and whatnot. And also, in the reality, like the story of the park, everyone else just went through training to be a detective as well. So it makes sense if everyone else is trying to find clues around you as well. Like, that's just the way things are going to be working right here. What should we call this park? The scope of it, I feel like, is expanded so much. It's not just about a talking dog,
Yeah, I mean, I would call it. I would like incorporate Scooby Doo in there somehow, like the name Scooby Doo. Like, don't just call it like Mystery Inc. Land or something.
True.
Or the Mystery Inc. Training Center.
And I don't think Crystal Cove is a household name by any means, so I don't think that Crystal Cove needs to be in the name.
The mystery.
Something, it could be World Town, Haunted.
Oh, yeah, Mystery Town. Scooby Doo's Mystery Town.
Ah, that'll do. Ooh, Mystery Town sounds awesome.
Official branding wise, your Scooby Doo's Mystery Town.
So, in your opinion, what else do we need to add?
I'm kind of hungry, so let's talk about food.
Sure.
So we have, gumbo and swampland.
Yep.
Or like, New Orleans Southern style food.
The castle seems weird because these are all in the same town. So it's not like it needs to be different, like, countries, genres of food. It's like, what kind of restaurants would they have in this town if this town has 5 restaurants?
The castle could be the opportunity to have, I'm a season pass holder.
Yep.
And it's my wedding anniversary, so I'm going to go to the nice restaurant at the Scooby-Doo castle.
It's a cool idea to have in the castle, treat it almost like a Disney castle, where there's like a high-end, sit-down, formal place where you have to like get a reservation and everything. Which is a nice dining experience, could be inside the castle. And it could be really pretty. Like, this castle doesn't have to look as dingy as the Scooby-Doo ones, where it's just, let's quickly paint this background of a castle, so all the walls are just solid, flat gray. Everything's made out of just big stones. Like, there could be some stained glass work. There could be some nice, tapestries or whatnot in there, and maybe some.
And you could have a floor show.
Ooh, yeah, cool idea. That could be awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it gives a lot of opportunities for different things depending on how you want to use the space.
Right. And if you want to just eat crappy amusement park food, like go to the amusement park and the circus. Like, there's circus peanuts and like popcorn,
turkey legs.
Yeah, all that crap. Cool. Cotton candy, classic.
Yeah.
I
think that opens up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're also going to have a themed gift shop in each area.
Yeah, that's a fun idea.
But I feel like the opportunity to not have like generic gifts.
Yes, nothing needs to be generic here at all because it is the whole town, and this town is aware that they have these 5 really fascinating sites. So that's going to be all over the branding for their town. It's going to have like the haunted castle or whatever on the T-shirts aren't just going to say, I survived Mystery Town. It's going to be like a little bit more thrilling than that, I hope. And I think,
like going back to the Wizarding World, you know, you actually get to go down Nocturne Alley.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. And I think that the gift shop should be very much grounded in that reality. Like, if you lived in this town where all this crazy stuff had happened, and there were all these just people who thought it was a good idea to dress up like a monster and like try to do this like get rich quick scheme, and now we have a museum like referencing all of these crazy schemes that people have done. We've got a pretty bizarre history in this town. We should really celebrate that, and just make the products they sell there should be grounded in that reality.
Yeah.